Good morning, I'm Ben Crow and welcome back to the 7th episode of Mojospresso, a caffeine-inspired shot of inspiration and perspective to help you on your Friday with the goal to win the morning and win the day. Okay, we're official, we're actually doing this, our first live event, a virtual masterclass on Tuesday, September the 29th at 7:30 p.m. or 10:30 a.m. for you Londoners, where we'll discuss the three mindsets: connection, purpose, and performance mindset. And we'll also discuss the three confidences: self-confidence, confidence in our journey, and our performance confidence. We'll effectively be answering those three simple but not easy questions. Who am I? What do I want? And how do I get there? So we'll be discussing these principles and strategies that help us with our mindset on the field in a professional sense, with our perspective off the field in a personal sense. Just find that balance between confidence and happiness, or achievement with fulfillment. Or in simple ways, to embrace our weird, own our story, and find our mojo. So I look forward to seeing you on September the 29th. And for more info, you can swipe up or go to mojocrow.com. Okay, so to this week's theme, which is all about owning our story and blocking out the noise. Owning our story effectively means celebrating our imperfections and finding that unconditional self-worth, where there's no conditions put on it, in particular the media. But it also means it's our decisions, not the conditions, that determines our mindset, our self-worth, and our attitude. It means saying to myself, I don't care what anyone thinks about me, it's what I think about myself that matters. It means I don't care what anyone says about me anymore, it's what I say to myself that matters. One way to own our story involves working out what's our favorite flavor of distractions, because there's so many distractions that are sabotaging our performance, and it's different for all of us today. But as a macro trend, one of the biggest distractions for us during COVID, and it's getting worse at the moment, is the media industry. And it's pissing me off because it's media that shapes our identity, but it's a formula based on negativity. And the impact this negativity is having on our emotional health at the moment is huge, because we've already got this unconscious reptilian brain with its own negative bias as well. But as humans, we have the power to decide to see the best in people. But news media is driving us so often now to see the worst in people. And we just got to have awareness of this and accept that we can actually control our own narrative. The news industry today is now the opinion industry, or the judgment industry. And it's so judgmental with these strong opinions on whether something or someone is good or bad, and mainly bad. And it's prying on this uncertainty of the world we're having at the moment with this pandemic. And in many cases, it's just plain mean. It's like that scene in Good Morning Vietnam with Robin Williams trying to have fun, but his boss was just plain mean, and it was just a radio station, But the same thing is happening today. The media is becoming mean, and we're getting sucked along with it. But as humans, we're fundamentally kind and compassionate people. So redefining our relationship with news media and staying objective and not getting sucked into the formula which creates this dopamine cortisol cocktail that sucks us into feeling angry or aggrieved or opinionated or critical about something that we really didn't care about 5 minutes ago, but suddenly we do. And suddenly we're critical of everyone or everything. And we're effectively losing ourselves. We're losing our story. News media has effectively become like professional wrestling. But in professional wrestling, we know it's not real and we participate in that fiction. But in the media, we still hang on to this belief, this veneer that it's somehow the truth or it's somehow 100% real, when in most cases, it's just an opinion or a judgment of one journalist and a negative one of that. The journalism has gone from scarcity to abundance. When news media was scarce, there was only a few newspapers or a few TV networks with limited publications. It was typically done in long-form articles that took weeks to write. So the reputation of that news industry was important, and getting the truth was important, because getting it wrong was devastating to reputation. Yeah, but now in an abundance world, getting it wrong is actually a good thing, because then it gives me a chance to write another article on the first article, which was wrong in the first time. Getting it first in this Twitter economy has replaced getting it right. So our relationship with news media needs to change from a passive one being manipulated to an active one being in control. And I'm trying to work out what's the best way of doing that. Maybe we can create our own mantras before we read today's news. You know, what is the truth? What is really going on here? What is the intention here? Yeah, I decide the meaning, or I decide the interpretation. As Marcus Aurelius, who was arguably the world's most famous Stoic philosopher, would often say, we need to have objective judgment now at this very moment. Yeah, all events are objective. The important thing is how you choose to respond. So when you're reading today's news or you're seeing these ridiculously negative headlines, say to yourself, I need to have objective judgment now at this very moment. Bottom line is, don't get sucked in by the critics and don't become a critic. I think it was Shakespeare that said, nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Yeah. What he's actually saying is there's no good or bad without us. There is only perception. Yeah. Mr. Rogers, whose story we portrayed last night on Mojo Crow, this US TV host from the 1960s, said, when I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helpers, or who are helping. So 9/11 happens, look for the helpers. You look for the firefighters, look for the New York Police Department. During COVID, look for the helpers. Yeah, look for the doctors, look for the nurses at the front end. There was a shark attack 2 days ago in the Gold Coast, and the headlines were ridiculous. But look for the helpers, look for the surfers who paddled out, the lifeguards who paddled out and try to help the man, the ambulance and the police. Always look for the helpers. So when media catastrophize events, we can also always look for the helpers. We can always ask ourselves, where's the good? Yeah, how can we use this event to get better or to help someone else? What lessons can we draw? To replace cortisol with curiosity. Yeah, psychologists have a term called the elevation effect, which kind of explains during the Olympic Games while we all go out and do exercise. Yeah, we always go out and go for a run. When we see physical excellence, it elevates us, it inspires us to do the same thing. But the amazing thing about the elevation effect is that it also works for moral excellence. So when you see someone doing something kind or something good, it elevates us as humans. Yeah, it inspires us to do the same thing. We're called humankind for a reason. Yeah, as humans, we have an incredible capacity to be kind, to be compassionate. So have the confidence to own your story, because as humans, we're better than that. We're better than this news media. Celebrate people who have a crack and don't undermine them. The reason is, you can probably tell I'm particularly fired up about this, is that on world record levels, we're seeing athletes retire early, walk away from the game early because of this negative pressure and this demon of expectation that the news media is having on their lives. So it's so important to understand the rules of engagement here. So if you're a high-profile athlete or high-profile person in the media, it's really important to understand and separate the person from the persona, your self-worth from what you do. So if Dusty Martin or Paddy Cripps walks down the street and they get recognized, it's the same thing as Mickey Mouse walking down the street. We don't know them, we know the persona of them. So it's really important for Paddy or Dusty or anyone in the industry to understand that and separate what's real from what's not real. And if it's not real, therefore it's not personal. So if I get criticized in the media or social media, if it's not real, it's not personal. So then I can get back to what is real. Yeah, my relationship with myself, my relationship with my family and my friends. If there's 18 franchises, 18 teams, by virtue of that and playing for one of them, 17 out of 18 people are going to hate me. Yeah, so understanding the rules of engagement is so important. The role of the media is to build up all this hype, yeah, all these expectations and opinions and judgments. Your role is to understand that, separate it, and get back to task and get back to what is real and what my role is, my relationship with myself, and block out the white noise, as Justin Langer, the Australian cricket coach, said. Over 100 years ago, Theodore Roosevelt gave a speech, and it was called Citizen in the Republic, and it was effectively about how to be a good person in society. And in in it, he pretty much called BS against all the cynics who were looking down on people who were trying to have a crack in the world or just make the world a better place. And there was a part of his speech that's become known as Man in the Arena, and it's one of my all-time favourites. Nelson Mandela actually gave a copy of it to the Springbok players before their historic World Cup win. I've had a lot of athletes use it before winning Grand Slams or winning Grand Finals, and I thought I'd share a portion of this with you this morning. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again and again. Because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, well, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Don't listen to the critics. Own your story. Okay, that's the end of this week's episode of Mojo Espresso. Sorry for getting emotional. Thanks for all your feedback. Again, send us any questions or topics you'd like us to discuss. Look forward to seeing you on September the 29th. And until next time, all the best. I'll see you on the other side in the circle.